Story of Woods. The air in the forest was thick, heavy with the scent of pine and damp earth. Shadows danced between the ancient trees, playing tricks on the eyes. John walked, his boots crunching on fallen leaves, a nervous energy thrumming beneath his skin. He was deep in the woods, further than he'd ever been, chasing a rumor he'd dismissed as folklore until now. The stories of the Skinwalker, a creature that could shapeshift into any animal, a predator that hunted with chilling intelligence, had always been confined to hushed whispers around campfires. But lately the whispers had grown louder, closer. A twig snapped behind him, sharp and sudden. John spun around, his heart leaping into his throat. Nothing. Just the rustling of leaves, the sighing of the wind. He told himself it was his imagination, amplified by the isolation and the stories he'd been hearing. He'd come out here to debunk them, to prove that logic and reason prevailed over ancient fears. He continued his trek, his senses on high alert. The sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long, distorted shadows that seemed to writhe like living things. The forest, once a place of serene beauty, now felt oppressive, menacing. He picked up his pace, a knot of unease tightening in his stomach. He should have turned back hours ago. Then he heard it. A low growl, guttural and menacing, not like any animal he knew. It seemed to emanate from the very trees around him. He froze, straining to pinpoint the source. The growl came again, closer this time, followed by a chilling, inhuman shriek that echoed through the darkening woods. It was a sound of pure malice, of ancient hunger. Panic seized him. He broke into a run, crashing through the undergrowth, branches whipping at his face. He didn't dare look back. He could hear it now, the sound of heavy paws thudding on the forest floor, gaining on him. It was impossibly fast. He risked a glance over his shoulder and saw it. It was a wolf, or what looked like a wolf, but larger, leaner, its eyes burning with an unnatural, intelligent malevolence. But it wasn't just a wolf. As it moved, its form seemed to shimmer, to shift, almost imperceptibly. It was the Skinwalker. The stories were true. He stumbled, falling hard onto the mossy ground. The creature was upon him in an instant, a blur of fur and teeth. He braced for the impact, for the tearing flesh, but it didn't come. Instead, the creature loomed over him, its snarling muzzle inches from his face. He could feel its hot breath, smell its foul odor. It studied him, its eyes filled with a disturbing curiosity, a predatory assessment. Then a strange thing happened. The creature tilted its head, and for a fleeting moment, John saw not a wolf, but a man's face, contorted in a silent scream, before it shifted back to the wolf. It was a glimpse of the terror, the torment, of what this creature was. John scrambled backward, pushing himself up. He knew he couldn't outrun it. He had to find a way to defend himself. His eyes darted around, searching for anything. He spotted a fallen log, thick and heavy. With a surge of adrenaline, he lunged for it, grabbing it with both hands. The Skinwalker moved again, a fluid, terrifying motion. It circled him, its growls a constant, unnerving soundtrack to his fear. John held the log like a club, his knuckles white. He was trapped. The woods were its domain. He remembered a fragment of lore he'd dismissed as superstition, that these creatures feared fire. He fumbled in his pocket for his lighter, his hands shaking. He managed to flick it on, a small, flickering flame against the encroaching darkness. He held it out, not knowing if it would be enough. The Skinwalker recoiled slightly, a low hiss escaping its throat. It didn't like the flame. This was his chance. He needed a bigger fire. He looked around frantically. He saw dry leaves, twigs, a pile of dead branches. He dropped the log and began to frantically gather the dry materials, piling them around him. The Skinwalker watched, its predatory gaze never leaving him, but it hesitated, the flame a barrier it seemed reluctant to cross. He continued to build the pyre, his movements fueled by sheer terror. He lit the dry leaves with his lighter. The flames caught, greedily devouring the tinder, growing higher and hotter. The Skinwalker let out another shriek, a sound of frustration and anger. It paced back and forth at the edge of the growing fire, its form flickering, the wolf-like shape momentarily giving way to a more humanoid silhouette before snapping back. John kept feeding the fire, the heat radiating against his skin. The flames licked at the sky, pushing back the oppressive darkness. The skinwalker, its eyes wide with a mixture of fear and rage, finally retreated. It melted back into the shadows, its growls fading into the rustling of leaves. He stayed by the fire for hours, feeding it, his body trembling with exhaustion and residual fear. He didn't sleep. He watched the flames, a beacon of safety in the terrifying darkness. As the first hint of dawn light began to filter through the trees, he finally dared to move. He extinguished the embers carefully, the silence of the forest now a welcome relief, though the memory of the skinwalker's eyes, the chilling sound of its shriek, would forever be seared into his mind. He had come to debunk a myth, but he had found a terrifying truth. He turned and walked, not with the bravado of a debunker, but with the cautious respect of someone who had faced the darkness and survived. The forest still held its secrets, and he knew with a chilling certainty that some secrets were best left undisturbed.